Hi, Dave Taylor here, and this time I want to talk about this device. This, and yeah, it's plugged in. This is really pretty slick. This is the ZTE SPro 2. Now, who came up with the name? I don't know. But this is a combination projector and cellular base station, Wi-Fi base station. Not exactly sure what the terms are, but this device you can pick up from AT&T.com or your local AT&T store, and it gives you a 200 lumen projector and the ability to connect up to 10 computers simultaneously to the unit, which actually lives on the AT&T cellular network. So pretty slick. This is like having your own portable base station anywhere you go. Now, I'm kind of working in the dark here. Let me go a little further into the dark to show you how the projection system works. All right, so I know I'm in the dark, but the important thing is you can see I'm projecting just onto a piece of white paper. You can project up to a 10-foot image. So this is plenty big enough to spread across a big wall in a hotel room or something. The downside is at 100 lumens, at 200 lumens plugged in, 100 lumens not plugged in, it's not super bright. But let me show you real quick a little bit of what's going on here. Let's see if I go to the screen. No, let's try there. There we go. This is what the interface looks like on the device itself. And as you can see, we can go off of this screen, and it has the ability to do things like work with a built-in micro SD card. So not the SD card, but the little tiny one that goes into a cell phone. Kind of tricky to work with those, but if you can put some movies on that, for example, and it also has 16 gig of internal storage, you can also plug in via HDMI, and that's what I'm doing earlier. So this is just my HP Windows 10 laptop, and it's chugging along. It's Windows 8. So many versions of Windows now. So Windows 8 HDMI plugged into the projector, and I can switch to it by just going to HDMI. And pretty nice, obviously things like like Netflix looks real good and makes it really nice for you to be able to watch movies, again, in a hotel room or presentations. It's really kind of more a businessy sort of thing. Let's see. You can also work with Miracast if you have that capability. That's actually a smartphone thing, pretty much on the Android side, but not from every Android phone vendor. So make sure you have Miracast before you go down that road. It also works as a hotspot. Don't look at the password just in case. It's only going to help you if you actually are within a few feet of me and I turn it on. But again, it can support 10 devices. That's pretty cool. And if I unplug it, you'll see the brightness goes down. But the good news is that this actually then makes it really portable. And in particular, if you're working off of media that you've already stored, or you're working with Miracast or something, I don't need anything plugged in. Now I have a completely standalone device. There we go. No signal, that's fine. We can handle that message. But now we have this device, and it's pretty darn small, and I'm actually projecting on my ceiling. You can't see that, but that's okay. And let's see. It's a really easy interface to work with because it's just running stock Android with obviously its own menu system in front. Let me turn that off. Let me turn some lights on and I'll tell you more about it. Hang on. That's a bit better. So it's a 720p projector, so it's not 1080p, but it's not bad. As you saw, the images are pretty crisp, and brightness wise, 200 lumens when plugged in isn't great. But if you're in a pretty dark space, it actually can work pretty well. I haven't tried it with the full 10-foot span of the image. I have a feeling that's not a lot of brightness at something that large. But again, if you want to just have something where you're just pushing it onto a curtain, onto a white wall, I'm not sure this would be the optimal one for the side of a house or a barn, but I guess you could try it out on a dark night. Let's see. It has a 6,300 milliamp hour battery built in, so it's a fairly hefty device. And this gives it 2.5 hours of projection time just off the battery, or 16 hours of connectivity if you want to just use it as a base unit. And the screen itself and everything, you can see there it's on, but the screen itself will turn it off momentarily, and the device stays on until you remember to turn it off. powered by Android. Up to 10 devices can connect simultaneously. I'm just sort of looking down my list of important features. 16 gig internal memory. You can also plug in other devices. Let me zoom in on the back here. Can you see that? There's all sorts of stuff going on there. I will say that I don't really like how you connect the micro SD cards and stuff, because it has a little carrier, and so you have to use one of those little pin devices that you would to switch like a SIM card on a cell phone. A little bit awkward. I think they could have done that slightly differently. How much does it run? So here's the thing. This is a $500 device, so it's $499 with no contract from AT&T, and you can use it without cellular. If you really just want to use it as a projector, then you can do that. However, if you just want a projector, there are other options in the market I would encourage you to check out. If you do want to use this and have it be on cellular and give you that connectivity, then you need a data plan. So, for a 2-year contract, you can add it to your existing AT&T data plan and everything for $10 a month, and then it drops it down to $399. But that's 2 years contract. If you want to have this be the only device you have on AT&T, probably that's not your best solution. That's going to run you about $50 for 5 gig a month. And that's $50 plus the cost of the device. So if you're going down that road, you might actually look at some other options. However, if you just have an AT&T plan and you want to add a projector and connectivity device, this could be really good for little startups that want to be able to go in and say, we don't need to worry about your projector, we've got our own, and just pop this little baby out. Can be pretty slick, and I would definitely encourage you to check it out. Go ahead and get a demo of it at an AT&T store if you can, because I think it's really important for you to understand what 200 lumens plugged in, 100 lumens not plugged in, what that looks like in different environments. If you're going into a venture capitalist's office and they don't really like closing curtains, this thing's going to be barely legible. So, this is Dave Taylor. This is the ZTE SPro 2. You can learn more at att.com. And I'll catch you, if I'm not watching a movie that is, I'll catch you in my next video.